Welcome to AI Ads and Beyond. I'm Lisa Raehsler. This is the podcast where we talk about AI and how it's impacting paid media performance and strategy. Today, we have an amazing guest to talk about how AI is impacting meta ads, the features and the benefits, and what experienced practitioners need to know. We have Akvile DeFazio with us today. And she is the founder of Advertise, a social media advertising agency with nearly 2 decades of experience and the creator of Social Ad Academy. She's one of the most trusted voices in the industry and cutting through the platform hype of meta ads. I'm super excited that you're here today.
I'm super excited to join you. Thank you for having me, Lisa.
Before we jump into the questions, I have some questions for you, and then we're going to do a rapid fire round at the end. So I know I forewarned you, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
About 10 years ago, I started working in paid search. I was working at e-commerce brands, pet insurance, to conferences. And I think that's when we met when I was working at the Media. And about 11 or 12 years ago now, I launched my agency and we focus primarily on social media advertising. And I amicably parted ways with paid search. So there's just been a lot of opportunities to expand with channels and types of clients. And yeah, we're 12 years in.
That's a lot of experience. Did you spend it all on Meta?
Mostly. And then Pinterest came out with ads, LinkedIn, Twitter, or X now, TikTok, Snapchat, Reddit, Quora, you name it. I'm across all the platforms for the different types of clients that we service.
That's great because it gives you a context of how the whole industry is and then how Meta fits into that.
Yes. Most of it does get spent on Meta just because it's been around the longest and it's still very affordable. So most clients spend the majority of their budget there, but it's really smart to diversify and know other platforms as well.
So with Meta, what are the general patterns of AI features specifically?
They keep rolling them out. They don't give you a heads up. On larger things, they sometimes will, but it's just being in the accounts and saying, oh, hey, this is new. That wasn't there. Let's see what the capabilities are. Does this apply to any client? And I have clients that are a bit more particular about their brands or any licensing agreements that they have with some of their retailers, to other brands that are like, use it how you want. And I will test certain things, but if it doesn't look great, I think a lot of the newer features are in their infancy and I see a lot of potential in them later. But for most things, I disable it, at least at the ad level. But in terms of targeting, it is much more effective there, at least where we currently sit with the algorithm.
Okay, so when you're talking about holding off on them, what are experienced practitioners like you pushing back on or holding off on?
I do prefer a little bit more control about how the ad looks because we put so much into the ad copy. Where's the landing page? What does that entail? What is the creative direction that we're taking for that to complement the copy and the messaging overall? Some of these AI features in the ad level, they will change the backgrounds on things. So they'll move the text around in ways that might make it more effective because it stands out. And ugly ads, as a lot of people call them, they do work. I've seen them work personally, but some of the brands that I work with, they really like to be a little bit more dialed in and have more control. So I do tell them about these features with things like I've had a client where we sell kids' toys, and one of the AI features was to put overlay music that's just kind of like royalty-free elevator type of music. And it's all fine, but it didn't really match. I saw one of our ads in the wild, and it didn't quite match the tone of the ad or the feel of the brand to other times where I had a product catalog and it could make nice backgrounds instead of like a plain white background that you typically see in catalog ads on Meta, where it's just the product image and then you could scroll through the carousel. That started doing backgrounds. And for one of our shoe clients, we had a sandal come out and it had a snowy background. And I'm like, don't really want to wear these in the snow. So I feel like there's a lot of potential there as it improves, but I just personally don't want to test a lot of these features on my client's dime.
Is this part of Advantage Plus? And Meta's been pitching and pushing Advantage Plus forward as a feature that has better performance. So tell me about that.
Advantage Plus is kind of like their suite of AI products. There are things where there's Advantage Plus audiences. So it's broad targeting. It uses their AI to find the right people in your audience. that are most likely to accomplish the action or the objective of the campaign, whether it's sales, leads, traffic, engagement. I also don't have all the data that Meta has. And I was leaving money on the table, probably or missing customers. So with a grain of salt, I did start testing that about a couple of years ago when it came out, and it actually performs much better than manual targeting. Though I do tell clients that if you're still running manual targeting where you're targeting by interests and behaviors and detailed targeting, that's still fine as long as you are accomplishing your goals and it's still working. But I feel like Meta is going to get rid of that eventually because they keep pushing it down in the targeting area. And historically, I've been doing this for so long that I know once they start kind of hiding things and making it less convenient in the UI, that they're eventually going to get phased out. So I wouldn't be surprised, but keep using it until it doesn't work for your account any longer. But for the AI features that are in the ad level, like some of these that we just talked about, some work, some don't, but it's hard to tell because Meta doesn't give us any reporting on that. So I'm like, oh, if I enabled music on this video for the AI music that we just talked about, or I disabled it, I can still test that, but I feel like there's a data gap in understanding, well, what was it actually this, or was it because it served less impressions or it favored this ad? So it's hard to test things when you don't have that feedback loop. And I think that they're just wanting to improve those new features. And it's time, you're just like trying it out just for the sake of trying it out. And hopefully you see better results. So I feel like some of the things in there work well. Some are kind of still in their infancy.
You still have access to the manual campaigns.
Yes.
Are they completely separate from the Advantage Plus campaigns?
More so intermingled now, but you can still select if you start a new campaign, it'll really try to automatically prompt you into the Advantage Plus version of it. That's more streamlined, more automated. All the AI features are built in there. Or you can still select the manual, but it's a little bit more clunky to go through the manual process, but it's still doable. But even if you did the manual one, you could still select Advantage Plus features for targeting, for things in the ad level with copy or creative and things like that.
Okay. So we touched on this a little bit before. The Advantage Plus AI enhancements. You have you can kind of mess with the manual settings. It's a little bit more work, or you can, opt into these enhancements. So
Yes.
you've seen a couple examples where those were going wrong with the sandal in the snow.
So there's other ones where for instance, you're an e-commerce brand and you want to enable the one that is the AI for catalogs. So you can have little details and value props kind of pop up on it, or pricing, to little previews. If you hover over the ad, you get a preview of the landing page or the app if you're doing app installs. So those ones, like, I'll test them out. I feel like there's no harm in it, but there's some where there's like a text improvement one where I will disable that because it'll take pieces of the copy that you wrote and kind of place it above your actual primary text. So it'll take like, something creative like blah, 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 and the shoe, it's like soft leather or something. It'll take that snippet out, put soft leather, and then like talk about like the lifestyle part of it or whatever. However nicely you started that ad copy, it just kind of like jumbles it around. It doesn't read great. It doesn't look great. I haven't seen anybody that loves that feature, for instance. And there's another one that I typically disable that is for relevant comments. And if you have a brand that's loved and a lot of people are engaging with it, I don't see any harm in enabling that one because that'll take that top comment, kind of like stick it, pin it to the top of your ad or like the first thing that you see. So typically, people see engagement, they're more interested. Typically things that already have more engagement with them will get more. But if you have a brand where maybe the price is too high and maybe there's something controversial around it, you don't want to have that pinned comment because it doesn't necessarily have to be a good comment. It's just the one that has most engagement. So sometimes you don't want to put that in the spotlight when you're trying to advertise something and sell something, right? So it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't choose the comment, you just say pin a comment and it will choose the one that has the most engagement, which could be, oh, why are you selling leather?
Yes.
Oh, no.
And the thing is, when you set up a new ad from scratch, it will auto-enable everything that's possible for that ad unit and campaign objective, all the features that your account has available that are AI. And it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole with toggle buttons, and you have to just go through and disable all of them. And then they try to hide more, so you have to keep scrolling, and then expand it. So they're trying to be a little more sneaky. And if you disable certain ones, it says, oh, are you sure you really want to? And then they give you a stat like, well, 62% of people that enabled this saw X results. So you really have to pay attention of what you're pressing because they're trying to get you to just auto-enable these on. And even if you duplicate an ad, it will still auto-enable a few of them. So you just have to kind of go back in. And that's unfortunately been the most tedious part of my job. One more thing with this, sometimes you disable them and you launch an ad, Meta will re-enable a few of them. And I had some clients be like, hey, we're really tight with our licensing. Like for one of my large toy brands, we work with certain retailers and we can't have those types of AI things on the ads yet. And I said, I disabled it. And they kept seeing the ads in the wild. And I'm not incompetent. Like, sure, there's human error. I've made mistakes throughout my career, but like, I really pride my attention to detail. And like, I had to keep sending screenshots of like, no, I turned it off. And then Meta turns it back on. And then later I found out in the ads manager settings, there's a setting that will override that. So you have to go and like find that setting. Like, please don't test AI on my account because it says even if you disable it at the ad level, you kind of give them the right to use, I think, 5 or 10% of your impressions or your budget to test whatever they want.
Right.
So, P.S.
Right. And I'm sure that they're hidden. There are multiple steps and buttons that you have to push in order to turn it off. I don't know how many articles I've written about how to find a setting to turn off something.
Yeah.
So it sounds like one of the costs to advertisers in enabling these settings is there's manual work on the backside of it, where
Yes.
you're still sorting through it, you're still evaluating trying to evaluate the effectiveness, but you're definitely being a human editor to see if it's message appropriate. Because you just named off like 6 different things that have gone wrong. And I can't imagine how many other ones there are for advertisers who are not as diligent as you in checking.
Very well said.
So are there any features, any AI features that you've changed your mind on? Something that you were skeptical about at first, or maybe that's improved over time that you're into now?
Advantage plus targeting. Again, like going back, like I really loved finding little pockets of audiences that were most relevant. And then when, lookalikes were a thing, they were like the rock star custom audiences for maybe 2+ years, like around COVID time, like that was working really well for everybody. And then Advantage Plus started rolling out. I think in the last 2 years, I've always test things out and see like, where's the future of the platform going and how users behave on it. And I saw really great results. And then I tested in other accounts and more accounts and more accounts. And I just kept saying, okay, I believe in this. I always took the new features with a grain of salt and say, like I have an appetite for testing. That's a huge part of my job. But also I need to figure out, does this make sense for the client? And it's been working great. Of course, if you have a smaller budget, you maybe want to start a little bit more granular. To an extent, still do that, but try to keep it as broad as possible. Meta has a lot of information on people that I don't have, that my clients don't have. So I think that's one thing that they really nailed. And then if you only have images for, say you have limited resources, you don't have a big turnover with your videography, photography, things like that, there is an option where you can add animations to Advantage Plus enhancements that we just talked about. That is one that I will enable sometimes because it kind of rotates, it zooms in and out. It's like very simple things, but they're eye-catching because that subtle movement does help people stop the scroll. So that is one that I'm like, okay, we can run that one. That's not a problem.
I remember some of the earlier features in many platforms where it was like just sort of like a slideshow. You would put all the images in and it would just be like you had a PowerPoint slideshow on. It was pretty rough. So that's good to know. It's good to know that it's refined and that that's working. At Social Ad Academy, how are you teaching your students how to evaluate the platform recommendations rather than just go with whatever they're being told to do by Meta?
In my Academy community, it's not just about pressing buttons. I really try to teach, what could work well in theory. And then when you test it, does it actually work well in execution? So, we talk about the different ways that there's different campaigns and objectives, and you'll have those different features available depending on what the goal is of that campaign. And we just talk about the logic of it. I'm like, okay, well, does this make sense for the brand? Do you want to risk having comments pinned if it's something controversial, like that last example we discussed? And just, you know, leaning into testing, but also you are in charge of the results. And yes, you could say AI did this, but at the end of the day, like you're still the auditor of the account. You're the decision maker of what you enable or disable. And as long as you provide that education and say, here's how it hypothetically works if it's a new feature, we talk about it. I usually try to test things as soon as I see them, if it makes sense for a client account, and just giving the pros and cons of this feature and then letting the students and the members decide, does this make sense for this account?
Do you recommend they go all in? Or is there a way to kind of do it?
Yes. So like
where there's the manual settings and then there are the Advantage Plus settings. So like the hybrid. So you can continue to do the hybrid and kind of ease into it slowly, or do you have to just go all in and say, oh, I hope it works?
If it's a new account, I teach people that, start with broad targeting and then see what kind of baseline results you can get. If you're starting with, you have a pre-existing account and you kind of have an older structure, maybe it's more manual, more precise targeting with interest behaviors. Lookalikes are still available. So if you're using those, but you want to see if it could do better, then I say, let's not blow up the whole account. There may be some overlap in terms of audiences seeing the same ads if you're running that, but it's a worthwhile test because then you could see, does the new targeting work better or the old one? And if you're happy with the goals or the results of the old one, then keep it running until they start to dip, or just run them side by side until you have a clear winner, and then just slowly migrate over that budget and then disable the old one and just kind of coast forward the new strategy.
There's a new feature that's out, or capability that we had talked about offline a little bit, that Meta just announced, AI connectors.
Oh.
It's an open beta, and it lets advertisers manage campaigns through Claude or ChatGPT. Am I right?
Yes.
And then it can access live accounts and via a command line interface, which is like the development interface that you type into that looks scary to non-developers.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? What can you do with it? It does sound a little intimidating.
I just started playing with it in the last week or two. It rolled out and it's not available to all accounts yet, but I had set it up. My husband, who's a web developer, actually helped me. So that made the CLI, or the command line interface, a little bit, it's so intimidating to me. I don't know how to quite use it yet because it's basically Python, which I'm not very familiar with. And I'm still finding it in my head, like it'd be faster to just do it in Ads Manager, maybe because I'm more familiar with it, or I could just find that button and not type in some code that I'm not really familiar with what it needs to do. But one thing that he was showing me is that if you work in an agency and you have a bunch of pixels, or maybe you work for a brand that has multiple brands under it and you have a lot of pixels, you can actually tell it to see when was the last time it fired. So it can do that within seconds and to see if maybe there's a tracking issue. So that was one case scenario. I was able to kind of see the benefit of that, at least now, but I'll let you know what else I can find from that. But from the connector to Claude, that one was interesting because I could just say, like, what was the difference between the campaign and that campaign? And just to give me quick answers about the data where, I could look at that in Ads Manager, pull that report if need be. But if I have just a simple question top of mind and I didn't want to go spend that time pulling that report and digesting it manually, I was able to get some really quick answers that I could plug in and send to my clients in addition to our existing reporting. So I do like that.
I think that's amazing because I had a question like that this morning with one of my clients. Is this tag firing? But I'm looking, digging, clicking, going in there to find it. It would be super easy if I could say, go into Claude and say, hey, is this working? Is it intended to also update creative to, it says based on what I understand, you're able to write into the platform. So are you able to change ads and say, like, change this heading, this image, or not yet, or you're not sure?
I haven't figured out how to do that yet. And I also, again, with the control thing, I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to do this over time and not rush into it because it is so new and I don't want it messing up what I have currently. And I feel like ad manager is what I know. So I don't want to launch new things. I just want to diagnose, and a majority of my job is analysis and reporting. So I feel like that was the biggest lift, or will be the biggest lift for me in terms of how I use the connector. But it'd be nice if I could do that because do you remember Power Editor from way back when? I think
Yes.
AdWords or Google Ads had one,
Yeah.
and then Facebook had one like 10 years ago. And I wonder if it can do that type of thing where you can just do bulk changes. You can kind of do it to an extent, but I felt like Power Editor really made it easier. And I wonder if it's going to have some similar availability and features going forward that we can do.
I'm sure we'll find out soon.
Yes.
I'm sure it won't stay a secret for long. What is the one Meta AI feature that you would never hand full control over to, no matter what?
The abilities are currently, I wouldn't give it free reign of like, here's a creative and like morph it how you want and write the ad copy that you want, because it's very generic. You still have to put in a piece of ad copy in there, but you can do dynamic variations of it. And it's gotten better. I'd say like a year ago, it stuffed copy with emojis, with hashtags. And like, no one uses hashtags anymore in general. And they definitely don't do that on Meta. So they don't do that anymore. But I just find the copy to be a little bit soulless, and it's just so I feel like it needs more nuance before I feel more comfortable letting it do that and then adjusting the creatives. Because one thing that has improved for one of my clients is that they do the AI variations now. So where you can put a product image in, it can remove the background. It doesn't have to be a plain background. And now it tries to put it into lifestyle images. So you like, I see the appeal there that if you're a small business owner or startup, limited resources, you need more creative because that's the way that the platform works. But there's no way to edit it. So like one of my clients has a toy truck, and it took that truck and some of the images look cool, but then it doesn't have the proportions to where like it's a kid holding it and it's massive in one picture, like tiny in another.
Just the kid in one picture.
Yeah. And it's going to mismanage expectations and you have upset customers. So I'm like, I don't want to give it creative freedom just quite yet.
That scale would be an issue. Oh my gosh. I love that story though. Thank you. That's something I'm going to think about a lot before I also turn on any creative that AI gets full control over.
Yeah.
I really wanted to do this rapid fire segment with you. So I'm going to name off some Meta AI features and ask you to rate them from 1 to 10. And 1 means don't touch it, and 10 means full trust or 100% approval from you. And then let me know how you rate it, and then, why if you need to. But we put a little bit of context behind your answers already. Let's start. Advantage plus audience.
10, because it does work really well.
AI generated ad copy variations.
Ooh. Say 4. It's good in the pitch, but get more creative. Use that human creativity that we have for novel ideas.
Okay. AI connectors with the right access.
7. I see potential. I feel like it's not seamless yet.
Advantage plus shopping campaigns.
10.
10.
If people shop, has a good return. If you have a product catalog of like 10 or more products, the bigger the better, so you have more options and more data. But I have a client that only has 7 products and they still do really well with it.
Broad targeting with no audience restrictions.
It's technically like Advantage Plus audiences at this point, but 10. But if you need to, it's totally okay. Geo-targeting, gender and age, if you need to apply those, those are fine. But just let it reach whoever it thinks is best to accomplish your goal. And it does a great job.
AI generated video creative.
Oof. 2. Well, I'm not going any lower because it's innovative. I see the progress of it. And I'm sure I'll rate it higher if we come back and talk about this in 6 months, I guess.
Meta's placement optimization. Audience network, Reels, stories.
I typically recommend enabling, just having all the placements, because then that way Meta can figure out who to serve ads to where. But anytime we've done that in the past, Meta's like, don't tell me what to do. And then it'll raise the prices, raise the CPMs, and then performance will dip. So I like to leave it alone, though I do have a couple where we exclude the audience network. It's typically really low volume, but if you get a conversion, great, but you have no control over. There's a block list you can put in for apps and websites that you don't want to be showing on, but there's no reporting as to where you're actually showing up. So I've had some where we've removed it and it didn't hinder performance at all. If anything, it like made it even a little better.
Nice. Meta's budget optimization across campaigns.
I like to have a little bit more control still. So I will do it by campaign, or I'll do it at the ad set level. Yeah, I'm an ad set person. I like to have a little bit more granular control. And I don't have that many ad sets anymore because everything's mostly one or two campaigns at this point, where in the past it used to be like, ongoing campaigns and ad sets. I just have seen on a few occasions where I've tested campaign level budget optimization that if the one audience is slightly bigger, that ad set is going to cannibalize your budget. And then the other one might have potential to be a great performer, maybe even a top performer, and it's not really getting enough spend to convert. So that's why I like to mainly control that a little bit more at the ad set level.
Okay, what's your rating?
Oh, I didn't say learning. Campaign budget. Sorry, opposite.
Your answer was a huge, it depends. So that cannot be an 8.
Let's go 5.
Sorry, I just had to stop you there because I heard everything you said, and I can't imagine if they did that in Google and they were, because the same thing, if for certain ad groups that depending on what the keyword intent is, it doesn't make sense. It would not make sense. So I would, in my world, I would have ranked that below a 5. And it would have a huge all over it,
Yeah.
Well,
I think I'll just stick in the middle.
Yeah. Thank you. This has been a fun and informative conversation. I really enjoyed speaking with you and having you here today. And I think everyone listening will really walk away with great points on how AI has been integrated into meta ads and some like your real world experience with how you're managing it is invaluable.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate all your thoughtful questions.
And if for those listening and watching, if they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to connect with you? If they want to join the Social Ad Academy or contact you for consulting?
You can find me at advertise.com. So just advertise, but with an AK instead of an AD in the front.
Sounds good. Thank you again.
Thank you.